We'll get there, I promise. Does that make sense today? Good. Is that Mark? He's got it. Right? Yeah. All right, at some point in our journey, we've heard the opening pages of the Bible, and we've thought about them at greater depths than we probably do of many other pages, for a number of reasons. One, the beginning few pages of the Bible cause probably the most controversies in our modern culture. I'll just say a couple little debate keywords and watch everyone. Shut up. Creation. Evolution. Origins of life and humans. How old is the earth? How old is the universe? The flood triggers a whole bunch of things. Everyone suddenly has their little emotional inner reaction to those words because you have a feeling or a belief about them in some way that probably conflicts with other people that you've encountered. And this is the unfortunate thing because it means that the only times that we really engage and try out this part of the Bible is in some sort of debate. It's like a situation where two people, they're standing in front of like the most beautiful painting you've ever imagined. What is the impressionist, the dot painting, and it's the picture scene of the people at the park. Do you know what I'm talking about? I can't think of it now.
Monet.
But, sure, Monet. And you're standing in front of a Monet, and they have this vigorous debate about exactly which technique was used, or when different sections of it were whatever, and they ignore how beautiful the painting is. You see what I'm saying? You're in front of the Mona Lisa arguing if it was painted in 1505 or 1506. This becomes silly. Because that's essentially the fate of these chapters. In the modern section, we really never pause to appreciate them and hear the message, because we bring them out only to have the intense debates and issues and conversations about it. And so that's what this series is going to explore. These first couple chapters, we're going to take a step back. We're going to appreciate the beauty of these passages and try to push them back into the time and the space they were written in and come to a new appreciation for them. To understand the core message, the literal artistry of what the author has written in these passages, how the words and the themes make profound statements about the kind of the world that we're in and about who God is. And so to understand the nature of the biblical story itself, you have to understand the story as it begins. To understand the one that Jesus brings to culmination, you've got to understand where it all began. Imagine watching a movie or a TV series, but starting in season 2. This is how I picture this. Stranger Things is one of my favorite TV shows. If you've never seen it and you popped on season 2, episode 1, and started watching it, you'd be very confused. You'd go, who is Will? Why is he seeing in this weird alternate dimension? Are they scared of him? Are they scared for him? Why do they care about him? You see what I mean? How many of you have seen that before? Good. Will, right? You've never seen Stranger Things. Who's Will? Right? You don't even know. I said Will, if my wife was in here, she'd be like, what show? Okay. Will, right? Excuse me. I'm on a lot of drugs. Totally legal. I have a prescription and everything. But this is what we do. We jump in later in the Bible and don't orient ourselves well into where it began. And so that's what we're going to do. So that's what happens with these first few pages. We're so embroiled in this controversy and defending the position we think is important in it that we don't really represent the story for what it really points to. And so we have those preloaded questions in page 1 of the Bible, like science and how do these all fit together. And I'm going to make the case it's not primarily a narrative that is designed to communicate. Everyone say this with me. It's not a narrative designed to communicate fact. Scientific fact. I'm going to add that to it. Scientific fact. Good? You with me? Okay, it's not primarily designed to communicate scientific reasoning and fact to you. Everyone say it in your head one more time. Good. We're going to get there. This is a narrative that's designed to communicate something else. And by looking to answer foundational questions about the meaning of human existence that all of us have. Right? Why are we here? Who are we like? What am I supposed to be doing? What is here? What's wrong? Is there a problem? How long have we been like this? Is there some solution? Right? Have we found a solution? How does it begin? Am I in the middle of the solution? Am I later in the solution? These are these human questions that Genesis gives us the stepping point to understand more fully. Are you with me? So whether you're super religious or you're not religious much at all, like we have these sets of answers to these questions. And they're usually answers that we've thought of for ourselves, or that we've inherited from our backgrounds or our religious context. And this is what Genesis 1 is going to try to give us the foundation to answer some of these questions. Who are we? Why are we here? What's the problem? What's going on? What's the solution? So these early pages are going to help us face these fundamental issues. So, Genesis, page 1. My joke finally lands. Everybody, Genesis, chapter 1, verse 1. Just get it ready to go. If you look at it, just so you can appreciate how beautiful this is in Hebrew. I'm not going to make you learn Hebrew, but I just want to go through some things that are very pretty. There are 7 words in Genesis 1:1. So in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. In Hebrew there are 7 words in there. If you remember from the Revelation series, 7 is that God perfect concluding number. How many days of creation? Good. How many days a week? Good. We orient things around this idea of 7. There are 7 words in Genesis 1. There's 14 words in Genesis 1:2. That's 2 times 7. There are 7 broken paragraphs in Genesis 1:1 through 2:1 that are all ended with evening and morning. The 7th paragraph in Genesis 2 begins with 3 lines that each have 7 words. That's 21. Every word in Genesis 1 is repeated in multiples of 7 through that same section as well. God is repeated 35 times. Land is repeated 21 times. Skies is repeated 21 times. Interesting. Lots of multiples of 7 arranged in 7, 7, 7 patterns. Key words are often repeated 7 times as well. Light and day. Light on day 4, living creatures on day 5 through 6, and God saw that it was good 7 times as well. Lots of things going on in here. All of these appearances of the number 7 are more than coincidental, because it's really hard. I don't know if you've ever tried to write something and be like, accidentally make it perfectly arranged in perfect order, but it's really hard to write beautiful poetry. It takes a lot of work to do it. 7 was a super symbolic number for Israel and their culture. Right? It's a sense of fullness and completeness. The word 7, Sheba, you don't read into that, in Hebrew is a homonym for the Hebrew word for full, which is Shabbat. They sound very similar. This makes this appearance very common through here. So just close your eyes, right, and let's put those images back up in our head, right? So I'm going to read it again, and I want you to have these images back in your head, and we're going to talk about it. Are you ready? I'll just speak it. Close your eyes, picture the creation happening. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and void. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. So how many of you, again, in your brain, your picture, have some sort of image like this sphere of water? This is something that you picture. Or this big sphere of dark voidness of nothing. Get your hands big and high. I like it. Great. Perfect. How many of you saw, like, that's good, we did that. So we've got a dark universe, and what I will describe now as an undulating ball of jelly. Are you with me? This is what we've pictured in our brain. Reading the Bible is a fundamentally cross-cultural experience. How many of you are early BC, Middle Eastern Hebrews? How many of you would say you're late 21st century European, probably descended North Americans in some way? Oh, that's different. Aren't we a little different? But it's a fundamentally cultural experience. It's the first big example. Why do we picture a sphere in our imagination when we hear about the creation of the earth? Why do we close our eyes and you go, it's a round ball of jelly? Why do we do that?
We've been taught that.
Go ahead.
We've been taught that.
We've been taught, because what do we know what the earth is? It's a big round ball, isn't it? Well, most of us believe that, hopefully. We have pictures of satellites. It's a big round ball. We have globes in our, Ashley and I have a globe in our house. There's probably globes in classrooms, but it's a sphere. We know we're a ball floating in space. The 8th word of the Bible is the English word earth for us. And this word earth, and its plain meaning for English, right? We hear it, and we have an English Bible, and so God created the globe. He created the earth, this round ball that we've been on. But ask yourselves this question. How long have humans been capable of bringing the mental image of a sphere when you talk about the place that we live? The first televised public image from satellite happened in 1960. How old is page 1 of the Bible? It's old. So, it's written in ancient Hebrew. It's written by an author who probably lived over 3,000 years ago. So let's just pause. And it might not seem like a simple fact, but it's the most simplest things here to sink in. And when you read page 1 of the Bible, it's possible that this person didn't know that the earth was a round sphere. Probably highly likely. It's possible that in this language that it's written in, we're supposed to have a completely different image come along. So what image would come to an author's mind 3,000 years ago when we use the word like earth, like the ancient Hebrews had done? If you look at the words heaven and earth, and you track it through ancient Bible and other Hebrew literature, it's really simple. It's the sky, heavens, say what's up there. Just say what's up there. Perfect. And it's the earth, what's down here. So God created the skies and the earth. Right? There we go. We've got it pictured in our head. You're supposed to just picture, I think of the Windows XP background, where it's just the green field in the sky. This is what you're supposed to picture. God created what's up there and what's down here. You with me? There's no way that this author would need to envision that God somehow supernaturally planted the idea of the globe for what modern people would think of in the mind of this author. That is not the point. You're not supposed to hear it and go, clearly, he superimposed the image of a ball floating in black, empty space. Why do we think that? There are people who think that if I believe that the Bible is both divine and human, that I would need to somehow believe that in the mindset of these authors, their minds were hijacked, and that God planted these ideas in there. But there's nowhere an actual description of how the Bible came into existence, or do you ever get a description of this supernatural imposition of this scientific fact that Genesis is trying to teach us? Because what is Genesis not? It's not teaching us scientific. It's teaching us experience. Are you with me? It seems that God wants to communicate. He's going to do it in a way that we would normally communicate, which means words mean what they mean to the people who say them. So think about going to Ireland. I went to Ireland and actually I got lost, and I'm really glad everyone spoke English. Because we were, I don't know if I told you the story, the train station had moved from before. We had a map quest. This was a while ago. And the train station dropped us off in this town, and it was like 4 kilometers in another direction from where we thought we were, and so we just turned left and started walking, because that's where we were supposed to go, and pretty soon we were like, there's no way we're where we're supposed to be. So we stopped and talked to this nice old man, and we said, hi, we're looking for this, and he went, oh, you're like 3 towns over. And we're like, what? But imagine like going somewhere where you don't know anything about the culture, you step off the plane, to me it's the equivalency of going to Ireland and then looking for a Burger King. Right? Like, it's kind of offensive. If you go to Italy and eat McDonald's, I have bad news for you. Like, you're offending the people of Italy. If you go there to experience and live and be among the culture, it's weird to try to impose what you think should be somewhere else. Does this make sense? So let's keep doing it this way. So when we open the page of the Bible, we assume they're going to speak my language and have the same mental picture. But that's not true. They don't eat Burger King. Right? They have pubs with bangers and mash. They have pasta shops and gelato. That I assume is very good in Italy. If God's going to communicate to us as people, then He's going to do it in a way that we would write and we would normally talk, which means that the words mean what they would mean to the people they were written for. So what we should have in mind is a globe floating in the universe. That's a very modern picture. So what's the perception of the human experience 3,000 years ago? It's really intuitive. It's actually your experience every single day. It's
what's up there?
And
what's down here?
Good. So this is the introductory paragraph of Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. It's telling you what's about to happen in the next so many verses. That's not part of day 1. Sometimes people get that all mixed up. That's like the introductory sentence. Now it's going to describe to you how does this come about. In the beginning, God created what's up there and what's down here. You with me? Great. It probably feels a little underwhelming, It feels like that's really simple. Good. I'm sorry. God's making plain old sky and land. That's cool, but it doesn't seem as exciting as making this otherworldly place that, like, angels live. But consider for like ancient readers that the sky was really enchanting. It's a realm beyond human reach. It's where spiritual beings live. Think the ancient Greeks, the gods lived on top of a mountain. It's hard to get up there. The sky is this place that humans just don't get to experience. Ancient thinkers would admire the sky, but they couldn't experience it firsthand. So from their perspective, God separating heaven and earth is separating the domains that humans live and control to the things that they cannot grasp. The skies are vast and powerful. It's literally what's up there. It's this position of authority. We depend on what's up there for life. Does this make sense? With all that in mind, you can start to see why the word sky would be the same to describe God's domain, the heavens. Ancient. Most people would say no. Formless and empty. And this is great. I'm going to teach you, again, just a little bit of Hebrew, and it's a wonderful phrase because it rhymes, and I've been saying it all week, and I'm so excited to teach you this. The author uses the words formless and empty. That's how it gets translated. But the Hebrew phrase, you guys are going to love this, you're going to say it all week. Are you ready? Tohu wabo. Tohu wabo. That's the Hebrew phrase. Isn't that great? It rhymes. Say it again. Tohu wabo. Don't you just want to walk around tohu wabo all the time? I think it's great. It rhymes. Deborah Fox, who's a scholar, coined the English phrase that I think translates this even better about what's going on with this. And it's this phrase because it gives a little alliteration. It's wild and waste. Say that again. Wild and waste. These are the words that are used in the Hebrew Bible elsewhere. About 9 times out of 10, they describe a desert, wasteland, some place that is uninhabitable. And so the earth was tohu wabohu. It's wild and waste, like a desert that you could never make a home in. And in the next sentence, what's down here in this desert? There's 2 more things. It's dark and darkness over the surface of the deep. What's the deep? It's the English phrase that means deep waters. This is kind of how we get to it. So what's down here? Is it a desert or is it a deep ocean? Because we've described it as a wild, wasteful desert, but also a deep, chaotic ocean. So which is it? The fact that I see those as opposites is me getting off the plane in Ireland, and I'm asking to find a Burger King. I'm missing a cultural connection. I'm getting off the plane to go to a pub and ask for a Bud Light soda. Yes, that's probably what I would say. These are the words that it's trying to tell us something about the nature of the world. The nature of our world is that it's this chaotic, uninhabitable place. If you're in the ancient imagination, put yourself in the desert, near the rivers, and it's the most uninhabited, unforgiving environment for human beings, where you can't make a house, and you can't park or let your kids go play outside. Go to the Middle East, you live between and around these big, great rivers. There's the big Saudi Arabian desert. It's the most desolate place in the entire world. And then there's this really good strip of land on one side of it, and then it's bordered by the Mediterranean Sea. Do you see suddenly how that's both desert and deep? You have this very thin strip of habitable land between 2 uninhabitable places. It's not contradictory to someone in this time frame. Does this make sense? You can see both desert as uninhabitable and deep waters, connecting both connotations together. It's a dangerous place in the sea. It's where humans don't go. There's a reason why the Iliad, the Argonautica, Jason and me, all those different things all take place traveling in the oceans. They're very dangerous places. The earth is this raw, dangerous place. It is a raw, wild, and dangerous place everywhere. No, there are some places that are hospitable, but who's responsible for making those? Right? Because in the midst of this chaotic desert, who is hovering over it all? Ooh, this God, or what does it say? Let's see what it says. And the Spirit of God hovers over the waters. Okay, put your hand in front of your mouth, like this. Say, hello. Hello. Ooh, do you feel that on your hand? So do it again. Hello. Okay. What is that in English? What is that? Say it loud. Breath. Breath. Ooh. Now, you feel it on your hand, but is it real? Good. Take your hand away. Is it still there? Do you feel it? Do you see it? No. Okay. We call that breath. In Hebrew, we call that the word ruach. Ruach. It's breath. In English, we have separate words for breath, wind, spirit, but in Hebrew, it's always just ruach. It's God's breath, God's personal life-giving presence. In the midst of the darkness and the chaos, who is hovering? It's God's life-giving presence. It's the Spirit of God, the wind, the breath, the life force of God. And this is what's cool. How did you get the ruach out of your mouth? How did you do that? Say hello. How did you get it out of your mouth? Ooh, but what did you do specifically? Say hello. You spoke. What's the first thing that God does in this narrative? The next thing he does is speaks. And so the image of God oversees this chaos. It's not out of control. It's part of the world, but at the same time, God wants to carve out this chaotic world a place that humans can flourish. And he does it by becoming present. He hovers over the water, and he begins to speak with his breath. Ruach. The first command, let there be light. And I've preloaded the mental image here by saying what the thing that God makes is. In English, it makes perfect sense. In English, we say God made light, and is light a thing? This is all you. I put this all in here for you. The Lord says, look at Mark. Is light a thing? What is it? It's energy. And there are little things called photons. Right? Famous slit experiment, is light a particle or a wave? Yes, it's both. Okay, great. So did God say, let there be photons? No. Interesting. Once again, in English, it makes sense to us. We have this conception of light being a thing. It comes from the sun. Nerd debate time, famous slit experiment, right? But God said it's he created the light, and he called it a photon? No. What does he call the light? He calls it day. Just think for a moment. What is a day? Is it a thing? Is it a thing that you make? It's a period of time, right? It's like structure. It's like order. He doesn't make a thing in the author's conception. He says, and he made light, and he calls it a day. Creation is about bringing order out of the chaos. There's this undulating ball of jello in our mind, this separated chaotic waters that AJ would have a fun time being in, but you couldn't play in because it's a desert, but also deep waters. And he separates darkness and light, and he creates order. He creates day. It's the most fundamental pattern of order that we can count on. In about 10 hours from now, what's going to happen? It'll be nighttime. And about 10 hours after that, what's it going to be? Daytime again. And about 10 hours after that, it'll be... And then 10 hours after that, it'll be good. And it's going to happen every day, and it's happened for a long time, forever. You see, he created order, a purpose, and a movement. Does this make sense? Who's responsible for creating this fundamental pattern of day and night? In the Bible, what does it say? Good. And he spoke it into order. He created chaos. He took chaos and made this order, this fundamental thing that we rely on. So, where are we at the end of these two verses? God created the heavens and the earth, and it's this Spirit of God hovering over chaotic waters. He separates night and day. Where are we still at the end of these verses? What does the world still look like? Still formless and void, but what do we have? We have fundamental order of time that has been created. Time moving back and forth. It's ordered in such a way that we can slowly start to come into existence. This is essentially what the rest of this Genesis is about. This is about God breathing a word of order into creation, where chaos is created into a garden that humans can flourish in. Because it's not a desert, and it's not a deep ocean, but suddenly this place that humans can flourish in. This is where the story is going. It's a drama about the humans being brought into God's good world and what happens to it. But it's not this undulating ball of nothingness, weirdness, that suddenly we create photons and we have to argue about whether or not it was literal, whatever, this or that. Do you see where we're going with this? This is about this chaotic order that God's power spoke things into direction and purpose. Starting with time, the cycle of day and night, creating this order. So we're going to break down, just like this, a couple verses at a time, what's being said in these passages through the rest of this series. And it ends on Mother's Day. We're going to talk about the nature of women. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm actually hoping a friend of mine is going to come to